everyone, and welcome back to Behind the Cutscenes. I'm your host, Jake Yoder, and I'm so happy to see you all here today for another episode. So, this week we've got on Seth Chapman. That's right, the Seth Chapman from the Lost episode. So listeners will remember that a few months ago I had Seth on the podcast, and a few weeks ago that episode was supposed to go up. But then my computer crashed. It died. It was game over. That entire conversation was lost. I was stupid. It didn't save it to the cloud, so it was just gone forever. Well, luckily Seth is super great, and he agreed to come back on and talk with me again, and here we are today, listening to that re-recorded conversation. Now, while I really wish we could have had that original conversation because it was really good, I think this one is also really good, and I think you're in for a treat. Now, Seth is a staff writer for the Daily Beacon, which is the University of Tennessee's student-run newspaper, but it is a wholly, really individual journalistic endeavor. It has no influence from UT or anything. It's all run by students and is just as independent as any other site that you would see out there. Seth focuses mostly on video game content, which is why he's on the show today, and he has big dreams of getting into the games industry himself, which I'm sure he will accomplish. As you can hear from this conversation, he's a great guy, and I'm really happy he's on the show today. So, of course, I think I am figuring out the in-person audio recording, which is great. This is a little echoey at times still, but it's a lot better than past ones, so woohoo, good for that. Of course, I will plug our social media. You can follow us on Twitter at Behind Cutscenes. You can follow me on Twitter at JakeyWakey with 2 Ys. And you can follow Seth on Twitter at 12out_of10. All right, guys, and without further ado, let's get right into our conversation with games journalist Seth Chapman. Seth Chapman, staff writer for the Daily Beacon, games journalist. Welcome back to the show. Thank you for joining me again.
I'm happy. I'm happy to be here for this. Can we call this like a remastered podcast? Since we're doing like a sort of re-release? Okay, cool. We'll do it. I'm happy to be here. You know, I love talking about myself. So I'm ready to do this.
Heck yeah, dude. I hope we can. We had a really good conversation that one time. It's a shame that's kind of lost forever, but hopefully we can replicate that in some way, shape, or form. So I guess just to start out, tell the people, who are you? Why are you here?
All right. So my name is Seth Chapman. I've been a writer for the Daily Beacon since February 2020, before the world ended. And I mostly focus on city news and entertainment type stuff. I do also some campus news. I love doing video game reviews, and I am just a manic for that kind of stuff. So anything I pretty much ask Jake, anything that he sends me to review, I'll pretty much do it. So
pretty much, except for there was one game we got that I was like, hey, review this. It was like Ever something, Ever Song or
Ever Song. Yeah, I don't know. I looked up that stuff. I was like, this doesn't look too high.
So it was because it was a launch game for like the Series S or X, and I still feel bad about that. I feel like. Because I requested that, I was like, oh, I'm sure Seth will do this. And so I was like, hey, can we have this code? And then you were like, no. And so then I probably still have that code. It's just not used.
What are we allowed to say about it? Because I'll give you my thoughts real quick. When I saw the trailer for it, I was like, ooh, I don't know.
I mean, say whatever you want.
Okay, it looked like a bad Hollow Knight. Like, that's what it looked like to me. I was like, ooh. I mean, I don't mind reviewing bad games. Like, that's the thing. It's just that I just saw this, like, this looks like a really bland-looking Hollow Knight. Like, I don't even think there'd be something fun to rip into it with.
Dang. Well, sorry, developers of that game, but I guess that's why we never got around to it. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I told this story on the original podcast, but the first time that we met was at what's the word? I forgot the word.
It was a networking event. Yeah.
We had this exact same thing. I was like, I don't know, something event. We met at a networking event with the School of Journalism here. We were going around in circles talking to like all kinds of people that I know I didn't really care to work for, which sounds bad, but it's nothing I really wanted to do. And I think I mentioned at some point that I was wanted to go into the games industry somehow, and you came up and you were like, oh, that's really cool, like I want to kind of do that too. And I was like, you want to write for me? Mm-hmm. And ever since then you've been writing for us, and definitely I said this on the last one too, not to do too many repeats, but you're very highly regarded at the Beacon. We all like you very much, and personally I like your reviews a lot. So
well, thank you.
I don't know how
I don't know how many other people at the Beacon care about reviews, but I care about reviews.
Hey man, I'm just saying, like, the geek stuff works. Our Godzilla listicle is on the top of the popular articles, so I mean,
yeah,
the geek stuff is good,
and it's been getting views every day. So
really every day,
every day, like it's still up there every day. So ever since we put that up, so I don't know. Now here's the thing: any person that's listening to this that has ever like worked on a website or runs a website or is an editor for a website knows a little bit about a thing called SEO. You know SEO.
I'm not familiar.
So search engine optimization. That is basically how you optimize an article to come up in search engines. So if you were to search films to watch before Godzilla vs. Kong, or just like Godzilla vs. Kong, if your SEO is really strong in an article, it'll come up easier and like with less specificity for the searching stuff. So this is a huge failing of the Beacon, which is, as people might know, a student newspaper here at UT. And this is something that I hope this might not age well if I don't get the job, but I applied for managing editor. And if I do get to be one of the editors in charge next year, I'm really going to push us to work on SEO because they don't talk about it. And SEO is incredibly important. And sometimes I don't know what the SEO system is with our site or with blocks or however our things go up because I've never dealt with it. But sometimes I guess the SEO is just really good because that article, like we put up tons of articles like that or it's similar to that just get no views. And then all of a sudden this one just gets a lot of views. The same thing with our Boruto reviews. It's like the SEO on that just must be really good. Right. The SEO on that Godzilla listicle must just be really good. I don't know. But
hey, all I'm saying is if you want me to, I'll put up another Godzilla article. I'm all down for it.
Hey, I need content. I as a desperate editor, I'm desperate for content, so I will take whatever.
All right, I think I'll get back to you with something on that.
For sure. So let's kind of again to retread some territory. We don't want to sit here and spend an hour doing everything that we talked about last time, but for the audience to know, let's talk about your origins. Let's talk about little Seth. What got you into video games, and what inspired you, I guess, to get into games journalism?
All right. I guess we'll start all the way back at the beginning. So my first system, and when I say mine, it was really me and my brothers, and that's going to be really important later on. We both had to share the same stuff. So the first thing we ever got was a Game Boy Advance, and we used it to play games like, we're really young, so we played like the Fairly Odd Parents games, like SpongeBob, like a lot of licensed stuff, and maybe Mario. That was fine. But I don't think that really like started us into like gaming. Our first real console was the OG Xbox. I think I remember getting this thing back in like, I think it was like 2002 or 2003. We both got it as a birthday gift, and we had to share it, and it changed our lives, like no joke. A little bit of background about me and my brother. Early on, you start to think like with your brother that you're very different from each other. I was more nerdy. I was more into like watching TV shows and cartoons, and my brother was a little bit into that, but he was also more interested in being athletic and being into sports. And I used to think that was like a big kind of divide between us and like why we wouldn't connect a lot on stuff. But when we got the Xbox and we started playing games together, that changed everything. Because we loved it. We would play things like, pretty much any game we got, we played it together. Like Lego Star Wars, the original Halo. Like, we were just all for that stuff. I think it brought me and my brother a lot closer, especially Halo, because that was like the first time when a game really opened our eyes to like holy shit, like this is a world like we're actually getting into, and it was magical. Like there's really no other way to put it, and it brought us like a lot closer. And I think that's why I stuck with games for so long, is because like it was able to bring me and my brother closer, and it also opened both of our eyes up to like what games could be.
That's the why games, but then why games journalism? What led you to want to write about this or to seek a career somewhere in the games industry?
I think from the start, I kind of knew I really liked games, but I didn't really know. I mean, I was like in elementary school. No one knows what they're going to want to do. I thought I was going to be an astronaut. So I think where game journalism started to happen was in the 360 era when we started to upgrade to that. And I started following reviews online. That's when YouTube was starting to blow up because it was like around 2006, 2007. And I would look up reviews online because like whenever you're a kid and you don't have a lot of money, you got to know like what is worth getting out there. And sometimes it's word of mouth from friends that you talk with about like you got to pick up Halo or you got to pick up Gears of War or Mass Effect. So we started doing research. I would go online, and a lot of the first videos I watched were those IGN reviews and stuff like that. And even at a young age, those would leave an impression on me of just like, what do you look for in games? Like, how do you make it fun? Like, is it like graphics? Is it gameplay, music? Like all this like important stuff. Some of the early writers I remember was one I still follow now is Greg Miller. Whenever it was like around 2007 and stuff, he was mostly a PlayStation beat kind of person, but I would follow a lot of his reviews, and I mean I didn't know it was him at the time. It was more like looking back,
right?
But yeah, like it's weird when you start to recognize that like certain people start to form your viewpoint on games. So reading his reviews and watching some of his reviews, even though I didn't know his name because I didn't care about that at the time, he was leaving an impression on me on how I view games and like what I look for in them. And so from moving on forward, and as I got more and more interested in it, I started looking more into not just reviews, but reviewers themselves, and started to see like everyone kind of comes at it with a different perspective. And in a way, I kind of view video game reviews as like an art form. One person that really like turned me onto that idea was Total Biscuit, who was a video game critic. Sadly, he passed away a few years ago, but even though he said he never really called them reviews per se, he was very adamant against it. He didn't call himself a reviewer, he called himself a video game critic. Mm-hmm. And his insight, even though I wouldn't agree with him on a lot of stuff, his insight was amazing. He would have like very different takes on what most of the video game media would on a certain game, and that felt really inspired. It felt like an art form to like try to use your own voice and try to interpret a game of like what you take from it that's good or bad, or whatever that you have to say about it. So that's really what got me into journalism, was like a lot of those like personalities and actually like wanting to put my thoughts down on games onto paper or online.
Yeah, I feel like that's true for a lot of people. I mean, I know for me, growing up, going to screwattack.com was always a big influence, watching them talk about games and just do their stupid skits and like their podcasts and stuff that they would do. So I feel like almost everybody that gets into this at some point has someone on the internet, at least when you're of our age, that is of influence to them. I said, when you're of our age, because those people back then, the Greg Millers and stuff, I mean, they really didn't have anything internet-wise. It was all like reading Game Informer or reading Nintendo Power or
official
something like
Xbox magazine. I remember PlayStation having one. Yeah, like actually, that. Now that I think about it, before even online, we used to have to go and get magazines from like the store. This was like 2005 or so. You remember a lot of the old gaming magazines used to have like little demo discs inside them when you order them, and I would always go to the grocery store and find all of them ripped open because people would literally like tear open these things and take the demo disc away.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's pretty funny.
Yeah, no, I was raised on gaming magazines. But we're of this, the two of us, I mean, we're a few years apart, but we're both, I feel like, of this age where I feel like we both distinctly remember kind of like the analog age, like pre-internet, like distinctly, or like like all internet, what I mean? But then we also were growing up and really coming of age in the full internet age. And I say that like I remember watching lots of VHS when I was a kid and reading magazine and like dial-up internet, stuff like, maybe not dial-up internet. Maybe that's a bit too before me.
I definitely was there for that. I can tell you that much. Yeah, because like we always had that stuff where like I'd play Flash games on like Nickelodeon's website or something, and Mom would be like, "Get off! I'm on the phone." It's like I have you interfering with that. I remember that time and age. It was something.
I might have been around for that, but that might be a little bit too young for me to fully remember. But the point is I remember. I still, because a lot of people that might even start getting in the industry now would not have any remembrance of like magazines or things like VHS or anything, which is weird to think about. There are people, oh gosh, what did I see? Oh, I saw, this was like a tweet that I saw earlier today, but it was someone on like, that made a TikTok that referenced the DS, and
my God.
the tweet was like, "Kill me," or like, "I hate this, kill me," or something. And there were a bunch of comments that were like, "What is a DS?" Like, no, seriously, I'm not kidding. What's a DS? Like, what are you talking about? What's a DS? And it was like, that's the age that we're on. We're like, people that are like 12 or 13 or like that around that age that are getting into the internet who like are fully into like. There are probably people that could be listening to this where their first like console was like a PlayStation 4 or like an Xbox One.
That blows me away, especially since like the 3DS is now like 10 years old now.
Yeah.
And it blows me away because like I remember the original DS. I remember getting that and how I treated the DS honestly was it was the Mario Kart machine. I only got a DS really just so I could okay. Mario Kart on DS used to have this thing where if one person had it, they could share it with other DSs connected. So you didn't have to own a copy. I remember after school programs when I'd hang out with my friends, we would all bring our DSs. One of us would bring our copy of like Mario Kart, and that was all we played.
Yes,
and that was perfect.
The person who owned the game could be whoever they wanted, but everyone else had to be a different colored Shy Guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
it was great.
That was like the best. Like it was like Mario Kart and Phantom Hourglass were the only games I played on the DS, and you know what? That's okay.
That's one of the best things. One of my favorite things thinking about the DS is it was so perfect for that, especially as a kid, because literally the DS was one of those systems that I felt like almost everybody had. You know, even regardless of like. You know, you might look back on things and be like, oh, video games are for boys or whatever, but like everybody had a DS, you know? I remember I would go to aftercare a lot of times, waiting for my parents to like pick me up from school, and all the kids that were there had DSs. Right. And there were lots of games where you could do that with, where one person had to own the game and then everyone else just had to like hop on the like game share or whatever, like the special channel that you had to go on there to play it. And kind of sucks that doesn't exist that much anymore. I mean, the only real handheld that exists is the Switch at this point. The Switch actually does have that with some games. I don't know about all games, but I know like, have you heard of 51 Clubhouse games?
They sound familiar.
So it came out in like last summer, like peak COVID summer, and it's just like a collection of like tabletop games, but like on Switch. But it's like developed by Nintendo.
It's like a game room, basically, where you can like invite people to come and like play like some of these other games, something like that.
Sort of. There's like 50. It's basically just like 51 mini games, and most of them are multiplayer. But you can do that's something like I bought it. But like me and my girlfriend, she also has a Switch, and she wanted to like there are some games that like only work, like Texas Hold'em is one of them. That only really works if you all have your own Switch. But so there's a free download on that where you can go to the eShop and download it for free, and you can only play that if you're connecting to someone locally that owns it. Okay. So like the concept of like the DS like share still lives on in some things today.
I wish it was more adamant because God, like with cloud gaming being such like a thing, like it's still something that's like kind of its early stages with like xCloud and Stadia. God, Stadia's falling apart. But that's what happens in like the first stages. I feel like cloud gaming is like something that's going to be very big in like a few years once everybody gets like the technology perfected on it. But with cloud gaming, it feels like there's like almost no excuse to not have these like share type games. It's like, yeah, you can play it on the cloud. Even the Switch, I know, is like aiming more for like big titles like Control and Hitman 3, I think, are coming to cloud on Switch.
Resident Evil 8, I think, too.
Really? Resident Evil 8? Oh my God. Can we talk about the big lady? the memes.
Giant, sexy vampire lady.
Oh my God. As a person who became a big Resident Evil fan back with like RE7 in 2017, and I've been more into like the horror, creepy stuff, it's so weird to see people hopping on now. It's like, the big woman's here.
It's so funny.
But yeah, I really wish that was like more of a prevalent thing, especially with like, I feel like so many things are moving to subscription services and like, oh my God, I'm sorry, we're going to deep cut stuff.
It's all good.
I don't know
it's
if
all
like,
good.
But yeah, I feel like everything is going to like subscription services, and we're doing all this crossplay stuff, and I'm like, we should really have more game sharing type like things. Like in order for me to share a game with my brother, we had to do like this whole finagling with our Xbox about ownership and like what our home console is. We're gonna have to do it again because my Series X just came in today, so I'm gonna have to like rework that again so we can all both share our games. It's exhausting.
Yeah, that's just one of the prices that you pay for this digital revolution, the convenience of having it digitally. These digital sales, you can get things really cheap, or just having it day one. But I guess it would make more sense if you're like if you have like a brother or something like that. But like for me, it's like not an issue because I never shared games with anyone ever. Like I don't think I literally ever have, and I'm an only child. But so that's it's just a different life perspective. But just I know people had that big issue, and to me that issue came with like, oh, sometimes I trade in my games, and that's the thing. Like little tangent. I was going to review. I did review for But Why Though. Because I started writing there after talking to Eva on episode 1 of this podcast. I reviewed that game. I don't know if you heard of it. It's called Werewolf the Apocalypse.
Yeah, I remember. I actually saw your review.
Yeah. So I knew that game. Well, actually, I actually didn't know anything really about it before. I saw like trailers and stuff, and I was like, I think this looks fun. So I was like, okay, I'm going to go to GameStop. I'm going to pre-order it from there. I pre-ordered it a few days before it came out because I pre-ordered some stuff while trading some other stuff in, so like you got like a boost. So I pre-ordered it on PS5, and I was like, okay, well then at least if I don't like it after I'm done with it, or just when I'm done with it, I can trade it in, and that money will go towards my purchase of another game down the line. I get there to pick it up, and I'm like, hey man, how's it going? He's like, oh good, how are you? And I'm like, good. I'm here to get pre-order Werewolf the Apocalypse. And he's like, okay, cool, on PS4? And I'm like, no, on PS5. He's like, oh. I'm like, what? He's like, well, we only have one copy. We only got in one copy of it on PS5, and the guy that just walked out had it pre-ordered as well and picked it up. So I was like, what? And I sat there for like 15 minutes being like deliberating because I was like, well, I could just pick it up on PS4, but I couldn't tell by Googling and stuff if it was like, if I bought the PS4 copy, would it give me the PS5 copy, which I think it would have in hindsight. And I was like, well, I could just wait, because he was like, well, you could just wait a few days and your PS5 copy will probably come in. And I was like, yeah, but next week, I can't remember what came out. There was another game. Oh, the Mario 3D World came out next week. Yeah. And then the week after that, Persona 5 Strikers. And then now in a few days, there's Bravely Default 2. So I was like, this Werewolf game is definitely kind of going to be, even if I like it, it's definitely like not a priority compared to these other games. So I either play it now or I know I won't play it. And I'm like, and I want to review it and I want to play it now. So after deliberating for forever, I say, okay, fine, just cancel my pre-order and I just pick up a PlayStation card and just buy it digitally. That game was terrible. That game was horrible. I beat it. I was going to platinum it, except for another pet peeve. I'm missing one trophy. Well, there are a few like story trophies that I could miss, but they're like easy. But the one trophy that I'm missing is like collect all the collectible like spirits, which is like the one collectible in the game. But when you beat it, there was no level select, so you have to just start the game over, and it's not like a new game plus where you keep all the stuff, so then it's like, okay, well then only the things that I need are there. Everything is there. So I was like, I'm gonna have to go through it and spend this time looking for everything again. So that it's just never gonna happen.
I am so sorry you had to go through that.
Yeah, and because I bought it digitally, it's just there. So if I would have spent that money and gotten it physically, I could have at least taken it back to GameStop and they would have given me like $20 back, which I know is not like good, but now it's nothing. I was out $60 and my money's just gone. You know what I mean? Like there's no recovering from that. So that's the only thing, again, this tangent, but you're talking about like borrowing. Whenever that was like a big issue at the beginning of the PS4 and Xbox One era, that was the thing to me that was like, oh no, like, but I want to be able to trade in my games, so.
Yeah, I mean, I'm working, so the benefits, and one of the things I would tell you is that if you can, I don't know, clone yourself or something, because whenever so me and my brother, whenever the Xbox One came out, we actually both ended up eventually both each other got our own Xbox Ones. One thing we figured out is like how to do like the game sharing stuff, which is set in the home console so we could both play it. So what we started doing is that one account would purchase the game, but we would both split the cost on it. And we started doing this with every big release. We did that with Cyberpunk 2077. I used my account to buy it, but my brother gave me about half on it, and we played it. We both beat it. We both thought it was So, yeah. By the way, I'm so sorry. Like, when I started looking up the trailers after you mentioned that Werewolf game a long time ago when you thought you were about to review it, and it looks like a game from, like, the PS3.
Dude, I knew I messed up literally right after I bought that digital code, and I, like, got home and started downloading it, and then I was like, oh, I wonder what people are saying about this, and, like, IGN gave it, like a 4, and, like, there was no review that was higher than, like, a 6, and I was like, oh, God. So I knew I'd messed up then, but if I would have just bought the PS4 copy, it would have been, because when I downloaded the PS5 copy, I noticed it also downloaded, which I didn't tell it to, but it downloaded the PS4 copy as well. But then when I Googled it, because I was standing there at GameStop, like, okay, a lot of games still, if you buy the PS4 copy, get a free upgrade. So I was like, which is like, they probably was no different. Like that game, there probably was literally no difference between the PS4 and the PS5 copy.
Right.
But who knows? I just wanted to play it on PS5 because it was a game that was quote unquote natively brought to PS5. So whatever, mistakes were made, but
hey, reviews out. If you see Werewolf the Apocalypse, avoid it like the plague. So
yeah, honestly, like it had some good aspects. It's like if you can pick up that game for like $5, you might get some enjoyment out of it.
It reminds me a lot of Prototype. Like looking at it gameplay wise, except it's not open world and it looks like the environments are just not interesting.
No.
And like there's funky stealth in it too, which I guess the original Prototype had as well, but like this looked worse.
Yeah, I don't want to stick and talk about this crappy game for too long, but it was something. Terrible voice acting. Character models looked like they were from like 2006. They moved like they were animated like that. You know, there was a very the cutscenes looked like they were made by like a 12-year-old learning how to like animate 3D models. It was bad. It was very bad. And you read into it, and it's based on, you know, the like World of Darkness, which is like a tabletop gaming series. That sounds really cool. It's in the same universe as the Vampire the Masquerade, if you've heard of that.
Oh, yeah.
Which I've heard really good things about. And there's a Vampire the Masquerade like game coming out soon that looks good. Now I'm a little bit more skeptical of it. But it was such a like, this game had so much potential. Also, it was in development for like 7 years, evidently. So I don't know what happened, but
it's always heartbreaking to hear about. Like, you got to imagine that there's a whole team of people who spend 7 years on a project and it comes out and it's just like, yeah, this is crap. Like it sucks to see, and I honestly like, and I feel bad for the devs, but like, yeah, like maybe it sucks. Maybe don't sink 7 years into a game that probably should have came out in like 2007. But yeah, no, in all honesty, I do feel pity for them, and I hope that like this is a learning lesson, and like they can grow from that.
It was rough. All right, so back to Seth. Let's talk a little bit more about you.
Enough talking shop. Let's go.
The guest of the show. You know, here you are. You're writing reviews for the Beacon. You're about to finish your graduate program here. You're about to write. You're about to.
Actually, may not be till the summer.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So.
Well, still, you're graduating soon.
Yeah.
Where do you see yourself going post graduation? You're gonna have a master's in journalism then. So master's in journalism. You want to do games journalism. Where do you see yourself going from here?
I will take anything. No. So my plan is over the summer to get an internship with some sort of like media company, whether it's like a local news channel or something, and try to break into the market that way. I just want even more experience. On the side, though, I do want to do freelance writing for like different websites and stuff. I mean, if you go online now, you'll see like IGN and GameSpot are even like being like, hey, we need freelance writers. And so you can send your application to them, which if you're interested in this field, just do it. Like, just, you never know what's going to happen. But ideally, in a few years, I do want to be writing for a publication like big, like GameSpot or IGN or Rock Paper Shotgun. I don't know. Someone, because like I just want to be able to like work somewhere and be able to like put passion into not just writing reviews, but just covering like video game news in like the industry. I think there's so many stories to tell. Another big inspiration for me was Jason Schreier, who used to be at Kotaku, now at not Polygon, sorry, is now at Bloomberg. And his stuff about like the crunch that like developers have to go through is like, it's heartbreaking stuff to read, but like it's the kind of stories that this industry needs to know about, and these are the stories that need to be told. And I want to be a part of that. I do want to do maybe some like investigative work, and I do want to like be able to tell not just the games, although I do love doing reviews for games. I also want to be a part of that like ecosystem and tell like the stories of like who is working in it, some of the trials and tribulations of that. So that's where I see myself, hopefully.
Yeah, and I don't know. I think with enough hard work and perseverance, you could definitely get there.
Yeah,
I definitely think that's a good goal to have. I think it's achievable. I don't know. Me, I go back and forth. That's kind of more what I wanted to do at the beginning, but over time, I feel like I'm leaning more towards, working in PR, games PR, or working as a community manager or something. I don't know if you've listened to the podcast with Auburn Morrow from High Res Studios, the brand manager on Smite. But she was telling me about, what a community manager does and what a brand manager does. And that sounded very appealing. So that's probably something that I'm going to be looking more towards. And definitely say keep your mind open to that, because once you get into, I feel like you could have a really good experience in the games industry, but I feel like a lot of people go into the games industry and then have really bad experiences with certain sites or people. Like, my experience, which I won't get into, but working just with some people and being like, I don't know if this is necessarily what I want to do. Maybe this isn't all it was cracked up to be, So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see though.
Yeah, I mean, that just comes with the territory with any. I think that's going to happen in any market you work in. Like your first couple of jobs, they might not be so hot, but I feel like at least getting your foot in the door, getting some valuable experience and insight can open up a lot of doors for you. And I think it's important to have sometimes those moments of where I think it's important to be in situations where you know what you don't want. Sometimes you have to work a job that you don't like because you got to realize this is not making me happy and I don't want to be here. And I think most of the time, I understand that sometimes we don't always have a choice. Sometimes pressures like money and stuff like that, it's going to be tough. But try to make sure that you're taking care of yourself mentally wherever you're working at. So if it becomes a detriment, figure out a way to get out. You will survive somehow. You just got to get out of there. So,
for sure. That is fantastic advice. I was just general life advice for our listeners there, but good advice.
Listen, we're a bunch of young college students about to graduate and come into a market that God knows what's going to look like because of the apocalypse and the pandemic and crap. So I mean it's super uncertain, but at the same time, just if anybody listen to it, just remember your own value and don't let people step on you. If you gotta get out of there, just get out. It's your health is more important than whatever they're making you do.
Hell yeah, dude. That's a really good mindset to go into the workforce with. I guess some more general questions just to get to know Seth. If you had to list your top 3 favorite games of all time, I think the last time I might have just asked you for your favorite game, or I don't even know if I asked this, but I feel like this is a good way to get to know someone. If you had to list your 3 favorite games of all time, what would they be?
Number 3 would be KOTOR 1, or Star Wars Knights of the Republic. First RPG I ever played from BioWare. I just bought it because it had cool Star Wars cover. Me and my brother both love Star Wars, and we both fell in love with this game. Fantastic storytelling. It's just this great characters. It's Star Wars. It's awesome. It made me fall in love with RPGs, and it's still I still think it's the best Star Wars game ever made, and I just love it to pieces. Number two is iffy. It can be kind of all over the place. I'm gonna cheat a little and say the Halo series because like I said, that was another game that ignited my love. But oh my god, the soundtrack in that game is just beautiful. I paid attention to video game music after that. Marty O'Donnell did fantastic work on that original trilogy. One of my personal favorites is ODST, which is just a complete departure from usual Halo soundtracks. It's got beautiful, gorgeous, moody jazz kind of atmosphere, kind of giving it a noir film aesthetic. And God, I love it. It's when I listen to that game, it is heartbreaking to me. I'm in tears. My number 1 game is probably no one is gonna know the name of. It's called Fury with an I. Furi. It is a game made by the Game Bakers. Came out a few years ago. It came out when I had around the time I had just moved to a different college. I was going to MTSU, and it was a lot of things were uncertain in my life. And it is a boss rush game. Basically, you only fight bosses. That is the whole game, and it's kind of like a bullet hell. But it was so good because the combat is excellent, that is for sure. The boss designs are excellent, that's a given. But the music and the story behind it is super empowering because this game is tough as nails. It beats you down, but it's constantly motivating you. One of my I just love everything about it so much. One of my favorite boss fights in it is this dude named the Edge, and yes, he is edgy, but he's different from other bosses because most bosses in that game will taunt you or talk some like shit about you, but this guy is actually motivating you to beat him. Every time he beats you down, it's just like, is this the best you can do? I know you can do better. He's like coaching you through how to beat him, and it's. Oh, the music and like the fight itself gets you super pumped. If you haven't heard of Fury, please go play it. It is like my all-time favorite game, and I actually like named my Twitter account that I just named after it. Like it's a reference to it. Yeah,
that's interesting. Yeah, I was not expecting that. I thought you were gonna say like Mass Effect, because remember last time we were here we talked about Mass Effect.
Oh yeah, but like if I had to rate KOTOR or Mass Effect, I love Mass Effect to pieces, but KOTOR was like. It's like your first crush. So like,
sure.
It has to be there.
Yeah, I really haven't played much of Fury, but I did play it back in the day because it was free at one point on PlayStation Plus. Mm-hmm. So I downloaded it. It's still in my library because PS Plus. But I didn't get all that far into it. So maybe I'll take a second look.
I promise you, if you could just like, you're going to find a boss you love. I promise you. And it's like, that track is going to be stuck in your head forever. So yeah, that's my recommendation.
Heck yeah, dude, that's so interesting. Those are very good choices, I think.
I was about to throw Persona 5 in there, but I think I'm just in my honeymoon phase.
I was about to say you're a bit early in there. Yep, beat the game first and then talk to me.
I love it so far though. I haven't been this excited for a game since like RPG, and I didn't realize it since like the original Mass Effect trilogy. Yeah. Because like I am loving the story in it. So yeah.
That's how I was when I was first playing through Persona 5 Royal over the summer. It was just like, games like that are like, oh, this is why I like games. It's like you get excited. You start looking forward to, oh, when can I sit down and play this game again? You know what I mean? Like, you just want to sit up and it's like a game that you feel like a kid again. Like where you can just sit and be like, oh, I can play this game all day. Like that's the kind of feeling that the Persona games give me. So I relate as a huge Persona fan. Mm-hmm. So you've got you just have a. You have like Xbox and like a PlayStation, right?
Yep. So I have a Series S, but I'm about to hook up the Series X now, so I'm super excited about that.
Whoa! You got a Series X?
Yeah, it just came in today.
Whoa!
Okay, I gotta come clean with you a bit on stuff. Yeah. I wanted to do a review on Control Ultimate Edition. Uh-huh. I had a Series S, and I was like gonna do a review on that. But then I managed to pick up a Series X, and it was gonna come in a few weeks. I'm like, I'm gonna hold off on that. So maybe there might be a review for it. Who knows? But like the Series X, I'm super excited.
Why'd you pick up a Series X even though you already had?
I originally wanted to get the Series X, but whenever I went to, I actually sat out on launch day and went into the store and ordered it. There was only the Series S available by the time I got there. So it's cool. I got it and I was super happy with the Series S. I actually did a review on the Beacon. Go check it out. And I really like the Series S, but I still wanted the Series X. So the money I was going to use for the Series X, I actually ended up putting towards a 4K television. Bought that a few months later down the line. Now Series X coming in, so I went ahead and bought that. And I'm probably going to trade in my Series S to get some like cash back for that, which I imagine won't be too hard. So
I would just sell that on like eBay or something. Don't take that to GameStop or something, because GameStop will give you like $200 or something for it, and you can probably still get like $400 for that.
That is true.
I mean, that you might feel a bit scummy doing that, but also like we're college students. So.
Yeah, that is true. We still got to eat.
Exactly.
So yeah, I'll see what happens with that. But yeah, I know no matter what I do with the Series S, I'm gonna get a lot of it back for the so I'm super excited to do the Series X.
How'd you end up getting the Series X?
I followed Wario. So I made that Twitter account
to follow Wario 64.
No, so I actually made it so because last time we talked, I didn't have something to plug. So this is a good time to do a remaster. So I decided to make an account so I could start promoting our articles on Beacon, not just my own, but like all of others. Like I did, I believe your Pokemon Go one, which was really neat because you actually got like
retweeted by Niantic,
which is
awesome.
Pretty awesome. So mostly to like promote stuff on the Beacon, maybe future works. But then I was like, I could follow like Wario 64. I heard that's the guy you follow. And like literally the first week whenever I started following him and he said like, hey, Series X is on Amazon, I went there, I got it, and that was insane. I was like, that was like way easier than I thought. And here's the thing, that's like my first time trying to go for it online. So like I know that my experience is not going to be like anybody else's, but I just got super lucky. So I'm like, I'm holding off on my Xbox games for now because I'm like, I want
Yeah.
to experience it in like X.
Hey, Wario 64 is how I got both my PlayStation 5 and my Series S. So shout out to that guy. The guy who runs that Twitter.
That dude's a champ. I love that guy.
Honestly. But yeah, it's awesome. Super, super happy for you. That's been my plan too, but I'm going to wait a while because I just dropped all the money on this. And I think the next time I put any money into gaming, it's going to be getting like a proper gaming PC. But that was my plan, is when I bought the Series S, I did kind of just get it. Well, I got a PlayStation 5 as well. So I was like, PS5 will be my main system. Do I really need to drop all the money on a PS5 and a Series X? Probably not. So I went in trying to get the Series S, but it's always in the back of my head where I'm probably going to eventually get a Series X and trade in my Series S or sell it to get the most powerful thing.
Okay, so I'm going to speak as I am a diehard Xbox fanboy. So understand that I say this with a really broken heart. That's the best way, honestly, is to get a PS5, and then if you really want to get Xbox, get a Series S, because like, don't get me wrong, I love Xbox, but you know, it's the old adage of like our only exclusives pretty much that anybody cares about is Gears of War, Halo, and Forza, and Halo's been delayed, and God knows when we're gonna get another Gears of War, and I think we're getting another Forza, but like, dude, you're getting Horizon and maybe God of War Ragnarok this year, and like those are like fantastic games like for the PlayStation 5. So yeah, PlayStation 5's got a killer exclusive lineup. I mean, I'm not playing it. I'm playing a game that was released for the PS3 and PS4. So
Yeah. Dude, I'll tell you one thing. I don't know if this is just me being crazy or something, but downloaded Persona 5, like just the base Persona 5 after I got my PS5 because it's part of the like PlayStation collection, so it was just like free. So I was like, okay, I'll play that. And then I was telling you before we started recording, I've been considering going back and trying to 100% that game. But something about the frame rate, I don't know if it runs at just 30 frames or sub 30 frames, but like the frame rate on that, I was like, I can't do this.
it definitely takes a minute, and thankfully it's a game that's like frame rate doesn't really matter that much, but it feels like, yeah, with Persona 5, I think it's running at 30. I think it's supposed to be anyways, but I think it's doing that weird thing like Into the Spider-Verse did, where basically certain things are like animated like at less frames to make it look more, I don't know, comic booky or something like that. Okay, listen, forgive me. Even though I'm like half Japanese, I don't really play JRPGs, and so I'm going to refer to it in like American terms, like comic books and stuff like that. I don't do mangas. But yeah, it's I don't know. Like, it does feel like it's running, especially when you're like dashing around in places. It just feels weird. So like, I don't know. Everything feels funky. I'm hoping Royal irons that kind of stuff out.
Yeah, because that's something that I didn't notice when I was playing Royal last year. So I don't know. And now I'm playing Strikers, and Strikers is like buttery smooth, like 60 frames per. Sometimes it's almost like too smooth. You're like, whoa, this is good. But definitely for the action game that Persona 5 Strikers is, it definitely needs it. So. Mm-hmm. It's good. But yes, go play Persona. Everyone listening, go play Persona. It's so good.
Yeah, please do. I just started, and like I'm like a little newbie, so I am way behind everybody else, but it's okay. I'm gonna get there.
I'm not like one of those cringy Persona only Shin Megami Tensei fans on social media that will just beg and begs and begs for Persona to come to Switch, but I will beg for Alice to port. You literally don't touch it. Literally, like, you don't even need to do anything. Just port Persona 3 and Persona 4. And 1 and 2, I would love that too. But older Persona games, please make them accessible. Because look what happened. I don't know if you remember, Persona 4 Golden came to PC over the summer.
I remember that.
And it sold like astoundingly well. Like there were reports from Sega and Atlas that they were like shocked how well it sold. So like, put it on everything. Like, because my laptop can play Persona 4 Golden, but it still isn't, because my laptop is not built for gaming. So I don't want to have to pull out my PS2 to play Persona 4. I don't have my Vita anymore. Put it on PS5. Put it on PS4. Put it on something that's accessible for me so I can play those games comfortably again.
Exactly.
Please and thank you. But I noticed your Twitter account, your Twitter profile picture is Chowder. Are you a big Chowder fan?
Oh God, yes. So I got HBO Max. The long story. I got HBO Max in like December because we wanted to watch. Me and my brother wanted to watch Wonder Woman 1984, and we did, and it was a disappointment. But HBO Max also got like a lot of old cartoons like Chowder. I was gonna use it to watch stuff like True Detective and all this stuff because like I really love that like HBO type series. But Chowder, I grew up on that. I love Chowder. Chowder is so good. It's super funny. They're constantly breaking the fourth wall. It's got a really unique animation style where like people's clothes like kind of have patterns that move, but like it's not like the clothes are moving, just the patterns on it, which is weird, but it works really well there. Chowder is great, and like it still holds up really well today. So please go watch Chowder if you love animation, because it is some funny stuff. I love it to death.
Heck yeah, dude. No, I also love Chowder. I maybe not love Chowder. I guess I need to revisit it. But I definitely I watched it a lot when I was growing up. I remember thinking it was really weird, but now I'm like, I'm really into animation. I have HBO Max. I've been paying for it since it came out. It's the best streaming service. I love it. And I almost exclusively watch the animation on there. Like it's almost only Cartoon Network stuff, because there's bangers on there, dude. Like, one, Adventure Time. Go watch Adventure Time. We're not even talking about video games anymore, but whatever.
It's geek stuff. This is a geek podcast. We got this.
Adventure Time is in my opinion, it's probably my favorite piece of television ever created. Like, not just like animation wise, just like as television show. I think it is my favorite piece of television ever created. Adventure Time is amazing. It can be a little hard in the beginning. It's all good, but the beginning is very much like, okay, this feels like an episodic like comedy series, kind of like made for kids, and you've got like hints of something more in there. But once you get deeper in, it gets like it's almost as if like you get like 4 seasons in, and then the writers are like, all right, this is a show for adults now. You know what I mean? It's so good. Like I love it.
All right, if you're gonna toss that recommendation in, I'm gonna throw on top of Chowder. Also, I noticed on HBO Max is Batman the Animated Series. I grew up on that as a kid, and it's what got me into superheroes. Pretty much that and Spider-Man. The Spider-Man animated series didn't do that for me though. It's super cheesy. Or maybe you should watch it. I don't know. It's so. Oh my god, it's
so good.
It depends on what you mean by good, but no, the Batman animated series is like, in my opinion, the quintessential idea of what Batman is, and it's so good. It's got Kevin Conroy as Batman, Mark Hamill as the Joker, and like just really iconic list of people voicing these characters, and it's so good. Go watch if you love superheroes. You need it, like Batman the Animated Series is like the Bible when it comes to DC. You need to watch this. Like,
do you hear they're making a sequel series on HBO Max?
Really?
Yeah.
Like to the Batman Animated Series universe?
Yeah.
I might have to check that out. Is it tied to Batman Beyond? Like,
I'm not sure, because that's when they announced it, everyone was like, "Isn't Batman Beyond the sequel to Batman the Animated Series?"
Because we never really got a proper end to Batman Beyond. I mean, we got that Justice League episode, which was cool, but like never like a really proper end to the series.
I'm not really sure. I just remember seeing that they were doing a sequel to Batman the Animated Series. So,
oh my god, that'd be great.
There's a lot of great animation stuff coming up on HBO Max, so like adult animation wise too. They're making 2 more seasons of Clone High, which I'm really excited about.
Wait, they're actually bringing that back? Yeah. It's not just a meme?
No, 2 more seasons.
Jeez.
With all like the original like creators and everything on it too. So, is Gandhi going to be in it though? Nobody knows.
Oh god.
Because I don't know, the controversy behind
I remember that with actually doing like, because I never watched Clone High, but I saw all the memes about it, and I started looking into the history. It's like, oh yeah, they had to like cancel after like midway through 1 season just because of like people were not happy how Gandhi was depicted. Dude,
I highly recommend that you go and watch that. The entire thing. There's a like a 4-hour-long video on YouTube that's just like the entire series. You need to go watch it. It's so good. It really holds up. I watched it like last year, and it like I think in November or something. Really good. But quick other HBO Max recommendations. My girlfriend and I are watching Craig of the Creek right now. From afar. That definitely looks like a kid's show, and in a lot of ways it is, because it's just about a bunch of kids that like go after school and like on the weekends and play in this creek. But it's amazing. It's super funny. It's like the idea, like there's like this whole society of like kids that like have like this whole thing in like the creek, and there's all these different kinds of kids. So there's like the Boy Scouts who are like the police and like are terrible, and then it's like there's this place they go to called the Trading Tree, and there's a girl who's like a merchant there, and they all like trade stuff. And then there's like they call them like the Ninja Kids, but there are a bunch of kids that are just like read manga and like
That's
act
awesome.
like they're ninja. They're like horse girls, but like instead of just being into horses, they're like, we are horses. And it's like, dude, I'm telling you, like Craig the Creek is so good. Like it's so much better than you would think. So I highly recommend that too. I can just keep going because I just started watching Young Justice on HBO Max. My friend Austin, who was on the podcast, is a big fan of it, and he was like, "You gotta watch Young Justice." And I'm like a few episodes in. It's pretty good. So
I might have to watch that too, Young Justice, because like I also remember really enjoying Justice League and Justice League Unlimited a lot as a kid too. So I might have to give that a shot. For me, more shout outs. I don't really have too much in terms of animation to throw out, except for just go watch the first season of True Detective. I still think that's like one of the best live action shows ever made. The first season is pretty much like its own contained story. I don't know about season 2 or 3. I haven't watched those, but season 1 is so good. It has Woody Harrelson and Matthew McConaughey in it, and they just chew up the scenery. The scenery in that show is so good. It's also freaking dark and depressing, and so like make sure you're in the right mood for it. But if you're, the way I put it to a lot of my friends is like it's a police procedural drama for people who hate police procedurals, because like it's such a good like story to it and good acting and characters. There's a really interesting way of like how it sets up like timing, because like you're seeing it's kind of like a parallel thing where you're seeing one timeline that's in the past and one that's in the present, and you're seeing them both like move to the point where they're about to collide, and it's so good. I watched it like 2 years ago, and it's still like the best TV I've ever seen.
I've heard a lot of really good things about it, so yeah.
Just make sure you're in the right moods, because like especially Matthew McConaughey's character Russ Cole is like super nihilistic and bleak. And if you know who McConaughey is, and kind of like in real life, or at least the image he projects, he's like super like kind of a surfer bro, like kind of like go with the flow type dude.
Yeah.
But like his character is like, it does a really good job with it. It's just so depressing to listen to. He's great, but my God, you'll probably just watch it. You know, just watch it, and just, I don't know, maybe have like a cartoon ready afterwards to like alleviate the mood.
For sure. Mm-hmm. Well, that's probably enough HBO Max talk.
Oh yeah.
Probably gonna go ahead and wrap up. Seth, thank you so much for coming back and talking to me. I think this conversation went in very different ways than the last one did, but I think it was just as good, honestly. So this time you said you had things to plug. Last time I said plug your things, and you said I have nothing. So plug your things.
All right. So I got one thing to plug for you, but it's where I'm going to be sharing all of my writings in the future, including stuff at the Beacon and just in general, just Beacon stuff. I might also throw up a few memes. I don't know. So I have a Twitter. I'm at 12 out of 10. So that is 12, the number, out _ of 10. That is a reference to Fury, and it's based on one of the boss dialogue stuff. I'll let the people figure that out themselves. But yeah, that's my Twitter account. Go check it out. It's the dude with chowder sipping on a juice pack. So
heck yeah, dude. And then of course, yeah, also check out Seth's stuff on the Daily Beacon, and then yeah, search him up eventually. You'll probably see him on a bunch of other different gaming sites. So
well, let's hope so.
All right, man. Thank you so much for being here.
No problem.